Hi, I'm Dr. Mark, and I'm going to help you sing and perform more like the top artists around the world. I'm a professional voice teacher, performance coach, and opera stage director. I've helped thousands of singers around the world learn the techniques and methods that got the top singers to where they are. Let's talk about what makes Brian Hull's performance of Hello so awesome. I have to be honest here. Usually I'm trying to react to performances that I've never watched before, that are live performances. But with Brian Hull, I've watched a ton of his videos, and most of them I've watched multiple times. Reason being, my kids love Brian Hull, and that's what they're asking for most nights before we go to bed. They get to choose a song or two that they get to listen to and sing along to if they want, and they've really been on a Brian Hull kick. So there's a lot as I watch it with them that I'm just amazed by. I love it. I think his work is just phenomenal. It's mind-blowing to see what he accomplishes and what happens. But I think there's a ton to learn from a vocal technique standpoint, from a performance standpoint. And I want to point a few of those things out to you today. And I also just want to share it with you, because if you haven't watched his videos, they're gold. Here we go.
Hello. It's me. I was wondering if after all these years you'd like to meet to go over.
Okay, so the question is, what is it that he's changing to make these different sounds? Okay, so there's a few things I want you to pay attention to, and it's a lot more complicated than this, but these are the big elements that you should be able to see here in this video and use to your benefit. Number one is this shape here in back. You'll realize with the Olaf voice that it was wide in back. It was this hat A position, upper tooth smile, and really speech-like placement, really forward right out of his mouth. Now, there's some other elements too. There are character hook type of things. So this little giggle laugh, hee type of moment. I'm not good at it, but if you watch him, that we associate with the character. There's caricature-y type of things that help us realize that that's the character we're looking at. And there's a lot of other stylistic things that are happening as well. But what I want you to pay attention to here up front is space and back, because when we get to these next two characters that we were just at, Gaston and Bert, it's really tall in back. And you'll notice that the lip shape here in front is either covering teeth or not, and what that does to the sound. Also jaw position, what does that do to this sound? I think you'll notice that a lot of the big sound changes have to do with that. Now, why? Well, there's a lot of reasons. One is by changing this shape here in back, we get a very different overtone series. It's that unique overtone series that our ears hear and associate with different people, different styles, different characters, and what makes that voice unique. So we have this bass, that's this fundamental frequency that is what's giving us the actual pitch and note that we're hearing and can play on the piano, but there's all these notes above it that we're hearing as well, these frequencies of sound that give us that unique sound that we can identify as a piano, as Gaston, as Bert, as Olaf. So he's manipulating this to get us that different overtone series. Then how he uses language, little character things that he puts in there like laughs, giggles, ways he uses the consonants and either bites them off or makes them really round. Those are all different means that he uses to communicate which character he's using. So really, really amazing. Because the other cool thing that I am just blown away by is that he's just switching character to character, phrase to phrase. Mind-blowing.
Everything, Belle.
They say that I'm supposed to heal you, but I ain't done much healing.
Hello. Can you hear me? Cha. I'm in California dreaming about who we used to be.
Okay, so we have Olaf that's super wide, some of these other ones that are super tall. Crush here, we got more of this diamond shape, right? So there's mostly wide, and you see the upper teeth come out. It's mostly this ass space, but it's got some of this tall place in it as well, which gives us this more complex, rich sound. It's a little more balanced. We get some of the dark in it, even though it's still mostly speech-like and forward.
We were younger and free and a little mad.
Wide, jaw relatively closed, upper tooth smile, little character things in there that you heard, both with how he's doing the language and extra sounds.
I've forgotten how it felt before the world fell at our feet. There's
Other thing that we're looking for, amount of distortion, rasp, cleanliness, breathiness, and all those elements lead to a unique sound as well. And he's using them so brilliantly here. Now, in case you think that the purpose of this video is for me to pick apart and say, oh, this is easy. I'm not doing it. I can't do this. And so I'm not trying to say that at all. I don't think it's easy. And one of the reasons I think it's amazing is because he so quickly jumps from character to character. The other thing that I think is really cool is that he's not just jumping character to character in his voice, he's also doing it in his body. In my experience in working with performers, changing the body movement is a great way to get the voice to be more nuanced and change as well. They work back and forth. So those body movements are really helpful for him, challenging and impressive, but they help reinforce what's ongoing vocally. And if you watch these vocal artists, these videos of them as they're recording different cartoon character voices, you'll notice that they are moving a ton and they're doing all kinds of things with their body, because what we do with our body affects our sound in all kinds of different ways. And it just will never sound quite genuine without it. So, love it.
such a difference between us and the moon and mouth. Hello from the other side. I must have called 1,000 times.
What I love here is, especially the little picture at the bottom, you'll notice that his mouth shape is almost identical to Lumiere's. Seems to me, and I'd be fascinated to talk to different animators about this, but usually it seems like Disney likes to base their characters off real life people, the voices that are portraying them, right? And it lends a certain authenticity to the sound and makes them match in a way that's really awesome. Makes it really believable and organic and authentic. And you'll notice that it's that mouth shape and how they hold their body and what they do that influences that sound. So it's really cool here because you can see that. You can see how he changes his mouth shape to match Lumiere's, and we get a sound that's a lot closer to what he's doing. Really cool.
Tell you I'm sorry for everything that I've done, but when I call you never seem to be home.
Notice how the corner of his mouth turned down is a little taller here, a little flatter here, matches Cogsworth and his normal kind of mouth position versus Lumiere's that has a little bit more curl up here in the side corners of his mouth. Now, here with Cogsworth's picture here in this moment, there's more upturned side corner, but in general, if you watch his mouth as he sings, again, he's changing it to match there. The other thing that I find really interesting is you'll notice for certain characters, he kind of talks out of the side of his mouth to get this kind of unique sound. Again, I'd love to talk to Brian Hall at some point. I think he's a genius, but my guess is there's a whole lot of experimentation that has to go into discovering these voices. And if what he's got to do to make the voice is sing out of that part of his mouth, it's a conscious choice, it's a decision, and that's artistry. Where we know it's artistry is that when it comes back, his home base is actually straight on and straight open. It's easy, stays relatively comfortable. His airflow is super consistent for the most part, if the character's voice warrants it, and his placement is really consistent too. These are elements, like we've talked about before, that are consistent across any genre, any voice type, any voice style, that are crucial for it to sound professional and for it to sound like we expect a top quality song or audio clip to sound like. So, what can you learn? 1, experiment. Play with different shapes of your mouth, see what it does. 2, make sure that these base technique elements are super solid and that you aren't changing absolutely everything and all the vocal technique when you're changing styles or trying on new sounds or voices, but that you're keeping the essential vocal techniques consistent. That's keeping that jaw released. That's keeping this resonant space 80% open. Now, what shape it is, totally different story. And obviously that's also one that we can tweak with a little bit. In general, we want it relatively open so it can be resonant and take any strain off here. We want to keep that breath low and flowing really consistently, a little bit of air traveling fast. So those are the elements that really should stay mostly consistent across any style or genre when you're trying it on.
Hello from the outside. At least I can say that I've tried to tell you I'm sorry for breaking your heart, but it don't matter, it clearly doesn't tear you apart anymore.
Okay, hopefully the other thing you're listening to and watching for as well is placement, right? When we had Timon, it's really forward, really placed up here, really tight and squished. Pumbaa, this opens up, and we don't actually lose the forward, it just opens up and adds this backspace in it, right? And a little bit of grit. We get back to Mater, and it's really forward and bright, not as pinched, but the placement makes a huge difference in how we perceive the sound. Again, that overtone series shifts significantly when we change the placement. So that's another element we want to pay attention to as we're exploring making different sounds, whether we're trying to imitate specific characters or just to get the right sound for a certain moment in a song. That's something we want to be aware of and playing with. Again, the key is consistency. Being able to make a choice and stick with it no matter what the dynamic level or pitch is. If these elements have to change or they do change on the pitch or dynamic level, meaning your breath flow changes, your placement changes, this oropharynx shape changes, your jaw position changes considerably in the middle, each one of those changes is going to make the voice sound different. And we need a certain number of them to stay the same, and especially these core ones the same. Otherwise, it just sounds like a mistake. So, love that he is so consistent with each character. I mean, it's mind-blowing how quickly he jumps, alters all these things. Obviously, it's a subconscious switch. At this point, he's memorized them so well enough that it's just boop, and it's amazing. Just stellar.
Hello. How are you?
Hey, listen up. It's so typical of me to talk about myself. I'm sorry.
I hope that you're well.
Did you ever make it out of that town where nothing ever happened?
And there's no secret that the both of us are.
I love that moment. He pulls his cheek out, and you'll notice that cheek pull out changes the sound, right? It really does. So I think one of the things is these things can look so magical and mysterious and like, I have no idea. But if you start thinking about it, you realize that the human voice is really malleable. You can do this too if you practice and you really put the effort in and time and figure it out. Now, would I suggest that everyone can do it to this level and be this flexible and malleable and be able to jump character to character and capture this many characters? Maybe, but it would take a lot of coaching and a lot of work. And my guess is he has a certain aptitude for it that I know I surely don't have. What I think is kind of amazing here as I'm watching Brian is that even though he's doing all these different characters, it seems so genuine and sincere and authentic for the most part, even though he's playing these different characters, which I think is also awesome. I think we can also do that on stage. Let ourselves inhabit this character, this creature, even if it's a cartoon. Let ourselves be that character, that person for a moment, and be authentic as if we were that character in that imaginary moment. And I think we can expand who we are, not limit it, not get confused, and not just feel like who I am is this little teeny tiny box that I have to fit into, and if it doesn't fit in this box, it's not me. I don't think so. I think really there's a little bit of us in every single person out there that we can connect with. And if we do, we're going to be a part of this world in a way that we otherwise wouldn't be. And our art and our art making can help us do that. I'll get off my soapbox. Let's finish this.
Running out of time.
Hello from the other side. Oh, I must have called 1,000 times.
Notice how important those extra sounds are. I can't even do it. I want to practice. There's the one I want that he does is Winnie the Pooh. I want that one. I want to be able to do it. I'll have to practice it on my own time and bring it back in another year or two. I don't know how long it will take me, but I got to try it out. So those extra sounds are really important. So think, what are the extra sounds that you make and other people make that match into songs? Different styles have different sounds that they make. They riff differently. They have different grace notes and ways to color things and shape things and add extra notes or get rid of things, stretch beats or keep it super right on the beat. Whatever it happens to be, those are also really crucial to style. It's not necessarily right or wrong there, but you want to be aware of it so you can control it. You can be a deliberate artist.
I tell you, I'm sorry for everything that I've done, but when I call you, never seem to be home.
One of the things that I love here with Tigger is you can see his tongue position makes a huge difference. Obviously, when it's sticking out of his mouth, sorry, it gets us that characteristic Tigger kind of little character hook quirk thing in there. But you'll notice the tongue, other than that, is mostly really far back in his mouth. Now, usually that's not an ideal thing, but he's creating a unique character sound here, and that's what needs to happen. Can you do that and still have it be healthy and viable? I think you can. It would be really difficult and it'd pose certain problems. And you'll notice he's not doing any of these character voices for a long period of time. And you'll notice if you watch some of his other videos that he is very open about the fact that certain character voices are just taxing on the voice. It just makes you kind of cough and gag a little bit if you do it for too long. But love what he's doing.
Hello from the outside. At least I can say that I've tried.
Eeyore, sad. You'll notice that just gravity takes a hold of everything and makes it clap and sag. That's one of the reasons why it's believable, because when we get depressed, gravity hits us and everything gives into gravity, and that results in a certain sound in our voice, a change. We know someone's depressed if we're listening to them because certain changes. He captures it. Money.
Oh boy! Hello from the other side. I must have called 1,000 times to tell you I'm sorry for everything that I've done. But when I call you, never seem to be home. Hello from the
To tell you I'm sorry for breaking your heart, but it don't matter, it clearly doesn't tear you apart anymore. Hey, Mickey, who are we calling again?
We're calling Adele, Goofy.
So to close it out here, I hope you enjoy watching him and listening to it as much as I do. I think there's so much to learn from watching what it is that he's actually doing that makes those different sounds. Absolutely mind-blowing how effortlessly it seems. And again, usually if it seems effortless, that means there's a tremendous amount of work that went into it to make it seem effortless. But how effortless he is going from voice to voice, and not just carrying off in his voice, but in his body, and being so expressive, and it's just enthralling. I just love it. Can't get enough of it. Go check out his channel, subscribe to him. Don't forget to click like and subscribe here. Before you do, check out the comments. Don't forget you can also find me on Wizio.com if you want a shorter, just quick response to a 5-minute video or less, or to specific questions or sounds or whatever. If you want a voice lesson, a performance coaching, or want me to work with you or your group to help you sing easier, perform at a consistently higher level, book a time with me at mrperformingartstudio.com. Don't forget, make your own sounds, explore, play, but keep it easy. See you next time.